In this video, I want to learn from professors who resisted McCarthyism. I might be a professor one day, so it's nice seeing a resistance movement of professors, but I think this will be interesting to everybody. First, some background. After World War II, the Nazis weren't a common enemy anymore, so we stopped being allies with Russia. And as they got handsy with Eastern Europe, and then China had a communist revolution in 1949, we got worried. Maybe communism will spread to America. Maybe it's already here.
My fellow Americans, there's nothing accidental about this picture. It is a pattern of deliberate communist infiltration.
Communism, we should keep in mind, is focused around a story, and the story is a little unsettling with a happy ending. Workers will eventually revolt to form a society where the leaders will make sure that people have enough to thrive and can be connected to their work. I disagree with that story, but to their credit, Americans in the Communist Party had supported the unemployed during the Great Depression and pushed for civil rights. Plus, for a lot of professors, it didn't matter if communism led to oppression or it didn't work out economically. What mattered was being able to study it to find that out. Academic freedom meant you had the freedom and responsibility to be open to the idea. This became a practical issue in the summer of 1949. Lots of state universities have a board of regents set up. In the University of California system, it was basically big business people who the governor had appointed to rule Berkeley and UCLA. In 1949, the regents slipped in a requirement that professors and TAs had to make a special oath to keep working. It went beyond saying you'd follow the US Constitution, which you already had to do, to say you weren't a communist. To a lot of professors, this seemed like security theater, just an ineffective show, since wouldn't a communist who actually wanted to overthrow the government just lie? And how can you say as a professor, I pursue truth wherever it takes me? Well, unless it goes there. Let's find 4 tips from the faculty's resistance in Bob Blauner's book, Resisting McCarthyism, to sign or not to sign California's loyalty oath. First, don't fade under pressure. Overall, the Berkeley faculty were pretty timid about the special oath. Sure, they brainstormed some big ideas like getting department heads to resign or tearing up their oaths in a big public display. But as time went on, they gradually peeled off. During the 1949 school year, professors got tired of the possibility of losing their job and signed. By the end of the school year, the regents put their foot down that they would actually fire people, and so people signed. Then during that summer of 1950, communist North Korea invaded South Korea, and America went to war and thought it was patriotic to not be communist. So people gave in and signed. In that 1950 school year, the regents set up a faculty-led committee you could appeal to, and then fired even the people the committee cleared, so people gave in. At the end, 31 people were fired and 50 others resigned in protest, almost half the national total. Don't fade under pressure. Don't let the uncertainty wear you down. The slow grind is how they get you. Today we still have this McCarthyism. Not the Senator Joe McCarthy, but the same culture of fear that justifies any accusations by guilt through association. Second, expect resistance to affect your health. All things considered, it's pretty cushy to resist by not swearing something. So what's surprising is how hard it hit the professors who resisted. About halfway through, a professor surveyed the other professors about how the loyalty oath controversy was affecting their health. They found that many professors were nervous, anxious, they were smoking more, drinking more, having trouble sleeping, depression and despair were widespread. They weren't getting much research done. 4 people even had fatal heart attacks that people said were brought on by the stress. We should expect resistance to affect our health. For myself, I make sure to rest 1 day a week. I walk. I don't get drunk. I don't smoke. I take time away from the news. I sing. I pray. Third, build diversity so you can better recognize injustice. At the time, the UC schools gave tenure to almost no women because they thought they would or should go tend a household. Of the few tenured women, a whole 10% of them resisted to the point of being fired. Similarly, refugees from fascist European countries resisted at a much higher rate than the rest of the faculty. They said the oath reminded them of fascist thought control. We always hear about diversity for its own sake. But the loyalty oath resistors show that you should build diversity so you can better recognize injustice. How much stronger could their resistance have been if they had hired proportionate Black, Mexican, and Asian faculty? What diverse voices challenge us to see injustice more clearly? Finally, hold historical parallels lightly. One of the professors who resisted, a medieval historian who was a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany, refused to sign because, quote, similar declarations were required of university professors by fascist governments in Europe. Blauner is critical of this reason, because by 1952 some of the professors had sued and won, even though many of the fired professors took jobs elsewhere and didn't come back. See, Blauner says, the US hadn't rejected communism so hard that it became fascist. The faculty would still have to take an oath, but so did every state employee. So I agree, we have to hold historical parallels lightly, but that's because of the positive reason that every resistance movement can affect our ability to pursue justice. I hope in this series that we learn from the past to adapt it to the present. Overall, thank you to the professors who resisted the loyalty oath for your commitment to academic freedom to pursue knowledge. May justice come for all.